Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Debra, and this is our new podcast that I've been telling you about on She Roars Boldly. It's called Lead and Speak Without Permission. This is where we're going to deal with more harder subjects and really dive into answers, answers that you are looking for. And our first guest, who was brave enough to do this with me, is Andrew here. And Andrew, why don't you tell him your story?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dr. Debra. So my name is Andrew Drazen. I spent my late teens and 20s battling addiction in and out of jail and prison. I went through 8 treatment programs before finding any kind of meaningful recovery. And during my last incarceration and my last treatment in 2019, I ended up writing my memoir. And I finished it 5 minutes before release. It ended up taking me 6 years to actually publish it and put it out, but it just released this last December. So,
Well, tell them about that. You know, what can they get from that when they
so
read it?
I mean,
And who
when
should read it? Yeah.
Yeah, so there were a few fold. So for folks who have similar struggles, it will show, as the name suggests, a vision of hope that they too can change their life around. For people who haven't had those struggles, it just offers insights into what goes on into the life and the mind of someone suffering from addiction. So I feel that through understanding is how we can actually have compassion for people. I mean, if we don't understand what people go through, then it's very hard to be empathetic and to build systems that are that have positive outcomes, which is ultimately my goal, is to help people, whether that's the person who's struggling, whether it's the friends or the family of the person who's struggling, whether it's the organization who's helping the people who's struggling. I mean, there's so many of us struggling, and it's not even specific to like drug and alcohol or criminality or any of those kind of issues. I mean, we struggle in other ways, grief, burnout, just any kind of identity disruption, returning vets. I mean, there's a lot of folks out there who need help.
Yeah. I don't think people wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to become a drug addict," or "Hey, I'm going to go shoot somebody." Or, I mean, I think this is a long process that people go through when they get into, and there's so many addictions. Some of
Yeah.
them, I think people think are acceptable, and they still can lead to disruption in their life, can't they?
Oh yeah, and I mean anything that kind of gives us that rush of feel good in the brain, that rush of
Yeah.
dopamine can become an addiction. I mean, that can be gambling, it can be sex, porn, shopping. I mean, it doesn't too much matter. If it makes us feel good, it can kind of hijack the brain. So it's just it's moving past that behavior into a life where it no longer serves us. I feel that's the kind of the crux of it.
Yeah. How would someone know if, I mean, of course we want pleasure, and yes, we want to do things that we enjoy, but how does someone identify when they've gone too far or it's starting to take them over? Do you have any idea,
Well,
thing you can share on that?
I'd say
Yeah.
that's something that like you have to kind of identify for yourself when you're starting to see consequences that you no longer see as the result of your actions. Then it might be a problem, and especially if you continue. If you're starting to see those negative consequences, you're seeing negative consequences, yet you keep doing that same behavior anyway. Now it's at the point where, it might be something that you want to take a look at.
Yeah, it would be maybe like someone has a shopping addiction and suddenly their bank account keeps going in the red. Yeah.
Yeah. Or yeah, you keep missing bills because you can't stop from shopping on Amazon. That's a problem, you know.
A lot of us women, it is, okay? We like shopping. I can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah. Um, what is your suggestion when they start to identify some things inside themselves? Because I think people don't want to. share that they're concerned and not even sure who they can share to get help. Do you have anything on that?
So, I mean, the first step is getting honest, and you have to get honest with yourself before anyone else. Because if you're not honest with yourself, if you're not willing to say that you have a problem that you're having a hard time managing on your own, it's going to be very, very hard to open up to anyone else and admit there's a problem or take any action to change. Because if you don't think there's anything that needs to be changed, why are you going to put the effort into changing? So. That I'd say that would be the very first step would be getting honest with yourself and then getting honest with someone else, and you can choose who that is. It could be a friend, a family member, a stranger, a pastor, a boss. I mean, maybe not your boss, but
Maybe not your boss.
yeah, but every
Might hold
every
on that
other
one.
label in your life, I mean, could be someone to open up to. And I feel like people often don't open up to people because they don't want to appear as a burden. They want to, I can handle it, but the thing is like, think about in your life when someone has turned to you for like real help, not just like, hey, can I borrow $20 or, like something like that, but like
Yeah,
real like life help. I mean, I feel like for me, if anything, that makes me feel more pride, like, okay, you trusted me enough to turn to me with your problems and for advice. So yeah, I'm going to hear you out. It's not going to be like, I don't got time
right.
for this. We're not the burden that we imagine that we are.
Okay, so I try to open up to somebody, but they don't respond well. What's your advice on that?
Find someone else. I mean, people do have their own lives and they have their own struggles and worries and, fears and insecurities and it just all of the things. So, maybe you caught them at a bad time or maybe they're just not the right person to talk to about this. I mean, that's the great thing is there's billions of people in this world. So, just try someone else.
Yeah, I guess I want them to understand they don't have to give up.
Yep.
And I understand that would be a difficult thing if you're trying to say, hey, I need help with this. They may not feel qualified to give them that help either, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I may be saying, hey, I have this problem, and they don't understand it. They have no idea what to say to me. So I don't think it's that they're not caring for us. I think they're just don't know what to say or to do.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and different people have different levels of communication and, comfort levels and, comfort levels with, certain topics. I
yeah,
mean, you might hit a nerve on something that they experienced in their lives and they're not ready to talk about it. So you can't just kind of let one
yes.
interaction and potential, call for help prevent future, conversations along the same vein.
I love that. Wow. It might be hitting a button in them. Yeah, that is really, really true. I just feel sometimes that it's hard for us to get to the point where we can honestly say to somebody, help. What kind of steps does it take to get to that point? I mean, you're doing it wrong. You're embarrassed about it. You don't want anybody to know. And what kind of things can maybe self-talk that you can help us to be able to take that risk, get out there and share that we need help?
Yeah, and I mean that's just kind of it is checking our self-talk because a lot of times we'll blow things way out of proportion and like become so anxious over the situation that it kind of gives us analysis paralysis and we'll be prevented from taking any action because we're so stuck in our heads about the action that we're going to take. So, it's just do it. The a lot of the times are the worst case that we imagine is way way worse than it's ever going to be, like Okay, so what's the worst case? You talk to someone about something that you're going through. They judge you. Like,
Right.
they talk to other people about it. That's probably the worst case. And if they're
Yeah.
judging you spreading your business, they're probably not someone you want in your circle anyways. So um, you might have just done yourself a favor in the long run. But yeah, it's just don't let fear dictate your decisions.
Yeah. Also, we're talking about what happens inside of us. What if it's someone we care about that we see going down a road, like children, our teenage children? Uh, how do we deal with those kind of situations?
And that's hard because you cannot, that's one thing that I've learned is you cannot save anyone else, you cannot force anyone else to change. All you can do is be supportive and let them know that you're there and that you care, and that if they need anything they can turn to you. So especially like with children, I mean, I'd say just be active in their lives, and be involved and talk to them, and like don't let them just kind of hibernate in their room as soon as they get
Oh,
home from school. Like ask questions, find out what their life looks like, where are they struggling, where are they doing good. Uh, because that way, like if we really get to know them, then we'll be able to tell like if the behavior becomes off, and that's the first kind of real warning sign, is when the behaviors start changing and the associations start changing, start hanging out with different kids that you don't know, and start doing different things, no longer having interest in their old things. And I mean, some of that can be growing up. So, I mean, it's important to kind of use discernment, but it's just taking an active role in our kids' lives and not just, being bystanders in it.
yeah. Not judging,
Yep.
too,
Yep.
not yelling, not condemning. And that's hard. As a parent, you're just like, stop. But
Yeah, and I
we
mean
can't
that's
do
that's
that.
that's the thing, is like one thing I've learned is like we cannot control anyone. We may be responsible for our kids, but we cannot control them. We can guide them to make better decisions, but ultimately it's going to be their lives, and they're going to make their own choices, and we just got to teach them as best as we can. And the yelling, I feel like that comes into control. Like, you're not acting or doing things in a way that I want you to do them, so I'm going to yell at you, to try and control that, and it's not effective long term.
No, it really isn't. Um, so you wrote a book,
Yeah, three actually.
three.
Yep.
Oh, you want to tell them about your books?
Yeah, so the one was my memoir. They all released in December of this last year, so they're all new releases. But the one is my memoir, chronicles my battle with addiction, incarceration, and finding meaning through the mess. Then there's Reflections companion book, which just kind of distills the lessons learned along the way through bite-sized readings on 29 different topics. And
Okay.
then there is the workbook, A Vision of Hope, the workbook. And that is for practical applications for healing and growth. And that is not, it's not substance centric. It doesn't talk about drugs or alcohol one time. It's not criminality centric. It doesn't talk about criminality. It's pretty much self identifying. You identify what you want to change, what you want to change it to, and it helps to create that bridge to create and maintain that change. So, yeah, I classify that as kind of just a general healing and self-direction workbook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something I think all of us can use in some way.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I designed it for everyone, to be able to pull something out of it. Like, you can learn about yourself, your values, your morals, what you want your life to actually look like, and kind of create a plan to live more intentionally, because I feel like that's something that most of us end up getting caught up in, is just the survival cycle instead of living intentionally, and it's so easy to do. So it's through no fault of any of our own. It's just kind of how the system and life is designed, and it's helping people break free of that rat race.
Yeah, and sometimes I think we get into addictions when we're not happy with our lives.
Hmm.
So that would be a real powerful tool to someone who's just feeling like I'm off. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I want. Something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
something like that would help them work through that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there's quite a bit that's involved in it. I mean, you're looking back at your past, you're looking at your present, you're looking at,
Mhm.
the effects of your actions, the effects of actions others took on you. So it's not light, but it's you get what you put into it essentially. If you want to do that deep introspection work and really grow, I mean, you can. It's just tools, like I tried to build tools to help others who are either where I've been or, feeling lost or stuck or hopeless. And, I've been through a lot in my life, and, I'm only 37, and, yet I'm still a very positive person and still building. So I just want to help others avoid the mess by learning from my mess.
Yeah, we're always building and growing and changing. And, part of what I talk about with the women's side is it's never too late. I think some people think, oh, well, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. It's too late. But it's not too late, ever too late to change your life and to grow and to understand things. You feel that way?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, on the back of the memoir, I mean, one of the main quotes is, "So long as there is air in your lungs, there is still hope." So,
That should be on a coffee cup. I like that. I really do. There's always hope. And so many people are hopeless out there.
yeah,
And it's sad. Unfortunately, some kids are hopeless out there. And that's very sad. It's our world doesn't always isn't always kind and encouraging.
well, and like to a kid, like what I'd say, like if they're just having a hard life, and some kids do, some kids
Oh
do
yeah.
have a hard life and harder than it should be. But an analogy I use, it's like, we're living in the chapter of our life that we're in. And the thing is we can't see the whole book. So, maybe that chapter needed to happen for that character development. Maybe you had to go through this hard time to become who you're going to be, to do the things that you're going to do. But you can't see that because you're in the hard time right now. So you just got to kind of hold on and maintain that hope that your story's not done being written yet.
I never thought of it that way. That I mean, I read all the time, but I know exactly what you're saying. It's there's always the down part before you get to the victory.
Yep.
In every single novel, you have to go through that journey, and that's a powerful way of saying it. I love that.
Thanks.
If you could sit down with your younger self, what's something you would tell them? They wouldn't listen. I just always ask that question. They would not listen. But, what would you say? Words of wisdom.
I mean, my younger self, you're right. I wouldn't have listened. I mean, I would have said, yeah, knowing that I wouldn't have listened, I'd just say, life is gonna be hard, but it's beautiful. Just enjoy the ride. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'd leave it at.
That's pretty powerful. Maybe we got to drop some of our expectations. I think sometimes we see other people's lives. Just think about this. We see other people's lives and we're thinking, oh, look, they got it all together. Oh, look, they know what they're doing. They're doing all these great things. But I bet inside they don't feel any different than we do.
No, yeah, we're all human, and I mean to try and keep up with the Joneses, that's I feel like that's a fool's errand because you're not living for yourself at that point. You're living for appearances, and if If you're not chasing things that actually bring you joy and passion and fulfillment, then you're wasting your life, in my opinion. So, the pursuit of money should never be the primary pursuit. Like, my view of money is it's a tool that can help us accomplish what we want to accomplish, but it can so often become blinding that it becomes the pursuit itself. And it's just trying to maintain that perspective, like, okay, I'm chasing this for this purpose, and not to lose sight of what we actually want to accomplish.
Yeah, that is very powerful. I like that. You know, I think to a lot of people that hear this. And another thing is, so you messed up, you still got life after. And you're proving that. You messed up, but look what you're doing now. Look at the people you're empowering, the people you're helping. How does that make you feel now?
I mean, a little bit surreal. So, like, just kind of thinking about where I've been, and uh, sorry. Uh, yeah, just thinking about where I've been and where I'm going. I mean, I went from sitting in a prison cell to next week I'm flying to DC for briefings with a couple of senators. So I just that kind
You're
of
holding out on me here. I didn't know that.
yeah. So I ended up joining this coalition that's attempting to change the drug laws, and so we have briefings on the 20th of this month with senators on both sides of the aisle. So I'm flying out there for that. But um, just thinking about what my life looks like now versus what it looks like then. I mean, I wouldn't even guess that I'm the same person. So we are constantly growing, constantly changing. It's just if we choose to, or we can stay stuck in the same cycles and loops. It's just kind of up to us, and whether we're willing to take a look at our lives and our actions and grow from them, or if we just keep chugging forward and not learning from our situations.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that was a holdout on me. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
That's probably something you never saw back then that could happen now.
No, no, I definitely didn't. I didn't foresee, DC briefings in my future when I was sitting in that prison cell. I'll say that.
Yeah, I actually just did a podcast with a woman and she was a teacher and now she's going to be going to the UN and talking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she got asked to do that for education. So that just shows that no matter where anybody's at right now, there's surprises in the future if you start making the right choices and not being afraid to share with others your struggles because you can help someone else. Comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe that by sharing our struggles, that's where healing happens. That gives other people the courage to share theirs, and that secrets lose their power once they hit the light. So I'm definitely a big proponent on that. There's a first part of what you said that I don't recall now. What was the first part?
Well, that um, when we're sitting here, daylight teachers in jail, whatever, people don't see down the road that this can become actually real empowerment for people. Like you're talking to a senator, she's talking to the UN. Not that that's going to happen to all of us, but we might find a way to do it in our own churches, our organizations. We may even learn to start an organization. Just because we've been through stuff doesn't stop us from doing amazing stuff as we grow and change.
Well, and the thing is like, we never know what we might say to someone or what encounter we might have that might change their lives forever, and maybe they go on to do like very big and important things. So it's just choosing our words and our interactions wisely, and knowing that our words have power and that we have influence over others, and it's just how we influence them, whether we're influencing people positively or negatively.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me. I said something or something and somebody came back. But when you said that, that caused me to change this. And I'm like, really? We don't know when we're talking to people. We don't know who we're affecting. That should make us a little more careful about our words, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how can they get in touch with you if they're
Um,
interested? Do
yeah,
you do
so
some speaking too, right?
Yeah, so I'll be in October of this year. I'll be speaking virtually at the Global Addiction, Behavioral Health and Psychiatry Conference, and I'll also be speaking at the 2026 Mental Health and Substance Use Recovery Conference at the Kalahari in the Wisconsin Dells. So yeah, I have a few speaking gigs lined up. But yeah, you can contact me at my website, avisionofhopebook.com. I'm on all socials, Andrew Drazen, Drasen. Books are available wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, website, bookshop.org, pretty much anywhere. So yeah, I'm not hard to find.
All right. You will also send me those kind of links for the call notes, right?
Yeah, I can send that to you for sure.
Yeah. I mean, some people just hear it audio, so yeah, that works too, but I like to have them both places so they can like click.
Yep, I gotcha.
Yeah. So, actually, we're winding down now. Anything else you would like to say before we close out?
Just that I feel like we are only limited by we're only limits by the limits that we put on ourselves. Whether we believe we can or we can't do something, either way, we're right. So just watch that self-talk, watch what thoughts you actually spend time on and like attach to. Because a thought doesn't have any power. They come and go. They're fleeting. It's the ones that we actually hold on to that kind of matter. So watch what thoughts you're holding on to.
Yeah, maybe it'd be good to write those down and really look at them.
Yep.
Say, why am I thinking this? Why am I saying this? Self, yeah, self-talk. It can be destructive.
Yes,
All
indeed.
right. Really want to thank you for being my first guest on Lead and Speak Without Permission. And I really think you have a powerful message and it needs to get out there in the world because there's so many people that need to hear that. Hear that whatever is happening to them or has happened to them doesn't determine the rest of their life. I see you going forward now and doing some amazing, even more amazing things.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Deborah. I appreciate it.
So, um, thank you everybody for joining us for the first version here, and we will be bringing more out. And don't forget to get in contact with him, particularly if you're struggling or you know somebody is struggling or you just need to understand where you need to be going. I'm sure that workbook will help them with that too, right?
Yeah.
To see their path and how to get on it.
Well,
And
it'll help them identify their path. Like if you don't
yes,
know which way you want to go, it can help you clarify that.
exactly. And so do not hesitate. I'll put everything in the call notes. So I just want to thank you for joining us today, Andrew, and thank you for all you listening out there. Have a beautiful and wonderful and an empowering week.